Hi, my name is Steve Wachter. I was originally born in the United States, but I moved to Sweden when I was 2 years old, and I moved back to New York when I was 14 years old.
Hi, my name is Adam Trecker. I was born in Novosibirsk, Russia, and I was adopted at age 4.5 and brought to Hawaii.
Hi, my name's Ben Coonan. I was born and raised in Pasadena, California, till I was 14 years old, and then my parents told me that I was moving to London.
Well, moving from New York to Sweden, first time I moved was kind of weird because some of my earliest memories were of the beach that I lived on in the town that I lived in, and I took those memories with me to Sweden and I didn't really forget them. In Sweden it was different because we weren't anywhere near the ocean, we were just on lakes. So then coming back to New York and seeing the same beach that I spent my first 2 years of life on was it was kind of weird.
Coming from Russia, or being adopted from Russia at age 4.5, and then being brought to Hawaii, the climate change was like tremendous. In Russia, you have really, really cold winters, and they would bundle us up, in all these like fur hats and coats and everything at the orphanage. But then when I was brought to Hawaii, it's Hawaii, really sunny, paradise state. One of the big huge differences was right when I came to Hawaii, my parents brought me to the beach for the very first time, and so they described me as the very first time I walked on the sand. I would walk, but I would lift my legs up as high as I could, like my knees all the way to my chest with every single step, because I apparently thought it was snow, because I've never felt sand before or anything like it. So here I am, this big goofball just walking down the sand, lifting my legs up one by one.
Moving to California to London was weird because just the look of both places is pretty different. You've obviously got big buildings and little streets in London, like little European streets, little alleyways. And you don't really get that in California. You've got big highways and big multi-lane streets, and everyone's driving around.
In the Russian orphanage, food really wasn't that great at all. All we usually ate every single day was a bowl of oatmeal, and just very occasionally, on a rare occasion, they would give us meat, because they wanted us to have some protein. But overall, just being in a poor orphanage, choices were not great at all for food. And so the big difference was when I was brought to Hawaii. I finally lived in a house with parents now, and they would make all these dinners and these foods for me. And I was never really a picky eater in the beginning because it was new food and all these new experiences for my taste buds, and just so I ate anything that was on the plate.
The language barrier wasn't really that hard to bridge. My mom raised my sister and I with she raised us speaking both Swedish and English. Obviously, we were better at Swedish than we were at English because I spent from 2 to 14 there. But we would fly back and visit New York a couple of times, and she made sure that we knew English. So when I did come back, I could speak English fluently. Plus, you have to learn it in school in Sweden. It's a mandatory requirement. So I could speak it fluently, but I had a little bit of an accent, which slowly phased out over time.
Coming from Russia, the orphanage, they had kind of a very poor education system, so I really didn't know much Russian at all. Could only really speak phrases and words by, the age of 4.5. And so when I was brought over and adopted and brought to Hawaii, there was, a pretty big language barrier between the two, because I only spoke Russian and my parents spoke, English. And so it was hard for them to communicate with me and know what I wanted. So they ended up hiring a Russian teacher to help my parents, learn little Russian phrases that I would say, so then they could interpret it into English and get a better understanding of my needs.
When I got to New York, it was kind of hard to make friends because I was 14. It was the the beginning of high school, and that's an awkward enough time as is, without having to be the new kid from a different country. You know, nobody knows you, you're kind of walk through the hall and everybody looks at you but doesn't say hi. So it was tough in the beginning, but eventually I found a circle of people who I became really close with, and I valued them as my best friends through high school.
Coming from Russia, in the orphanage, I really only had one really good friend. His Russian name was Alexander Viktorovich Yakov, and we were best friends at the orphanage. We would do everything together. When I was adopted, it was just amazing the chance I had, because at that same time, Alexander was being adopted, believe it or not, but he was being adopted and brought to Hawaii as well. Same island, island of Oahu. And so not only, you know, were we best friends in the orphanage, but we got to be best friends in Hawaii as too. He ended up living only 5 minutes away from me. And so we were together all the time. We, you know, had all of our new experiences together and grew up together. Basically, we've known each other longer than our parents now.
In London, I only really had American friends because I went to an American school. And what was weird about that was they were all from different parts of the country. I had a friend from Arizona, New York, Miami, even one from Denmark. And before that, I had only really known people who grew up in Pasadena, and that's where their family was. That's where everyone they knew was. So that was different for me. So overall, I'm really glad that I moved when I did. It was nice to have 4 years in a different country and then be able to come back to the U.S. I think I'm better at adapting myself to new situations because I'd never really done that before. So I was kind of out of my comfort zone, and that was nice because I definitely learned from it. And just where I moved to London, it was a unique place because you're kind of close to, you know, exotic places that you don't really associate yourself with, you know, like all of Europe and North Africa and the Middle East is really not that far away from you there. So I think I paid more attention to current events in different countries, and I felt closer to them, even though I really wasn't, but geographically wise I was, and I met some people who are from these places that are in the news a lot. So that, I think it made me have a different perspective on the world.
Overall, honestly, I couldn't be happier about the change coming from Russia to Hawaii, because, you know, just moving from a poor orphanage and then getting the chance to go all the way to Hawaii and living right on the beach, I mean, that's luck. I mean, that is just a 1 in a million chance, and then I received that, and I just couldn't be any happier that that happened to me. I heard that orphanages, you know, for older teens really aren't that great, and then by the age 18, they have to, you know, take you out of the orphanages, and they just basically boot you off and just say, okay, now you're on your own, we're sorry. And so, you know, if that could have been me. But it wasn't. I got the chance to be adopted by a family that now, you know, really loves me and takes care of me. I really could not be any happier.
Ultimately, I'm happy that I moved from Sweden back to New York, because I probably wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't. I wouldn't be attending Emerson College. I wouldn't have met the people that I have. And while I do miss Sweden a lot, I know that I'll always have people there that I can go back to. My grandparents are still there, my uncle, all of my friends. I also feel that living abroad for that amount of time gave me a more well-rounded view and perspective on the world, and I feel like I'm better informed and more tolerant towards things that I don't really know about. So overall, I'm grateful.